ng pagpapatupad ng reforma sa lupa ng reaksyonaryong gobyerno ay nagpapatunay na ito'y huwad at hindi naglingkod sa interes ng oring magsasaka sa ating bayan.
According to the Department of Agrarian Reform, the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, or CARP, is a redistribution of public and private agricultural lands to farmers and farm workers who are landless. On June 10, 1988, the Republic Act No. 6657 was legislated. The CARP was created in order to enable impartial or equitable ownership of lands among its beneficiaries and attain social and economic development towards a better way of life. The agency in charge of the proper enactment of the Agrarian Reform Program is the Department of Agrarian Reform. It has the responsibility to formulate policies, provide support services to agrarian reform beneficiaries, and deliver agrarian justice. The support services provided by the Department of Agrarian Reform are infrastructure facilities, marketing assistance program, credit assistance program, and technical support programs. The Spanish regime. During the Spanish era, the encomienda system was regulated. An encomienda was a piece of land bestowed upon select persons as a reward for the services rendered for the king. These people chosen to own the lands were called encomenderos. They had the responsibility of collecting taxes from the locals in the form of crops. This method was soon after abolished in the late 17th century because of the abuse of the power committed by the encomenderos. The American Period. In the course of the American period, agricultural properties owned by the church were bought by the government under the Friar Land Purchase Program. Act 4054, or the Philippine Rice Share Tenancy Act, was enacted by the Philippine Legislature in 1933. It enforced control over the relationship between tenants and landlords in rice-producing areas. The Commonwealth Period. President Manuel L. Quezon exercised Commonwealth Act No. 461 that protected the share of tenants from dismissal and on the approval of the Tenancy Division of the Department of Justice. He also implemented the Commonwealth Act No. 608 that made available the founding of the National Rice and Corn Corporation, which was intended to help farmers raise their standard of living through lower prices. The Philippine Republic.
The establishment of the Philippine Republic in 1946 paved the way for the enactment of a series of laws to resolve the agrarian problem. During the presidency of Manuel Rojas, Republic Act 34 or 70-30 Act was signed into law. It is one sharing scheme where 70% goes to the tenants and 30% to the landlord. In Ramon Magsaysay's time, Republic Act 40 or the Land Reform Act came into force. It established the Land Tenure Administration as an instrument for the acquisition and redistribution of private agricultural land. Magsaysay had the Congress pass the Agricultural Tenancy Act in 1954. This provides a great protection to the tenants by giving them the freedom to choose the system of tenancy under which they would want to work. Although the common people gained from the land distribution and tenants were granted more rights, the problems that were solved were just surface problems and not the main one. When Diosdado Macapagal became president, Congress enacted Republic 3844 or the Land Reform Code. It abolished the lease system by transferring ownership to the tenant farmer.
During the presidency of Ferdinand Marcos, the Code of Agrarian Reform was signed into law, which created the Department of Agrarian Reform, which implements agrarian reform policies. Philippines was proclaimed as a land reform area through Presidential Decree Number 27, where rice and corn farmers became beneficiaries of Operation Leasehold. But those acts were not enough. The continuing need for land reform promoted a new Hook uprising in central Luzon, accompanied by mounting assassinations and acts of terror, so Marcos began a major military campaign to control them.
Corazon Aquino, a daughter from a wealthy clan, it became a lightning rod of criticisms against her land reform agendas. Corazon Aquino signed Republic Act No. 6657, which is the CARP, gives right to the farmers to own the lands they till. The program was expanded to include lands devoted to coconuts, sugar, aquatic, and other croplands. One major problem that the Ramos administration faced was the lack of funds to support and implement the program. So, Ramos signed this comprehensive agrarian reform law, which strengthened the CARP by extending 10 more years.
Widen the coverage of the comprehensive agrarian reform program to the landless peasants in the countryside. On September 1999, he issued Executive Order 151, also known as the Farmers' Trust Fund, which allows a voluntary consolidation of small farm operation into medium and large-scale integrated enterprise that can access long-term capital. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo signed Executive Order 364 on September 27, 2004. The Department of Agrarian Reform was renamed to Department of Land Reform. This broadened the scope of the department, making it responsible for all land reform in the country. Recognition of the ownership of ancestral domain by indigenous peoples also became the responsibility of this new department, under the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, or the NCIP. On August 23, 2005, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo signed Executive Order No. 456 and renamed the Department of Land Reform back to the Department of Agrarian Reform. The CARP was originally set to be implemented completely by 1998, but yet it encountered problems. These are insufficient funding, opposition from landowners, documentation concerns, problems on peace and order. Yet these problems did not become hindrances in the implementation of the CARP. The Department of Agrarian Reform has created several programs in order for the CARP to remain beneficiary among the landlords and farmers. And because of this, agriculture and development within the country could be soaring at high peak.